Hi everyone. So welcome to the live stream today. Always a pleasure having you on the live stream as we continue with our discussion for the December 2022 examination. And today we want to share some thoughts on how you will actually be approaching the questions in the exam hall. So when you get to the exam hall and scripts have been shared and you have 3 hours to go, plus the 15 minutes reading time, what should you do? How should you approach the question? What are the things that you're supposed to take into consideration to ensure that at the end of the 3 hours plus the 15-minute reading time, you will be able to come out and answer the questions very well, but most importantly, be able to pass the examination and achieve your goals and become successful. And that is what I want to share with you on the stream today. And I see some of you guys joining. You are welcome to the stream. Give us a thumbs up on the video. It's also going to be a Q&A session. So if there are any questions, something you want me to share my thought on, probably subject specific, maybe let me know the subject that you are writing, the subject that you are sitting for, then I will pick that subject specifically and provide you with some strategies, some thoughts, and what you're going to be doing generally as you go into the exam hall. So, welcome to the stream as we get excited and see what we can do today as we continue with a discussion. And he said, please, your voice is repeating. What does that mean? My voice is repeating how? Does it mean I have? No. Let's see. Can someone else confirm that? My voice is repeating. How is that possible? Or echoing? What's the issue? Let me see. My voice is repeating. How is that possible? I don't think my voice is repeating. Um, let's see. I was just checking. I don't think my voice is repeating. Sita, I don't know. Maybe check your device or something like that. My voice is pretty good on the stream today. I see some comments coming in. How are you, sir? Good to see you. Let's hope you're doing good to see you. Hope let's hope you're doing fine there. Yes, I'm flourishing. Edward, thanks for asking. And then Sita was like, my voice is repeating. Sita, please check your device because I think my voice is not repeating. I'm pretty good on my stream today. So maybe you can check your device in that regard. Okay. So let's see another question coming in quickly. Now, give me subject specific. What subject are you sitting for in the December 2022 examination? Then I'm going to provide you strategies on how that specific subject, what you do as you get into the exam hall in the 3 hours plus the 15 minutes reading time so that you can ultimately pass the examination. This is a key discussion that we want to look out for. We want to look at what you have to do in the exam hall because everything else you've been doing in the last 11 weeks and everything else you'll be doing in the next 2 weeks will boil down to 3 hours, and that is going to be deciding whether you pass the exams or fail the exams. So what happens in the exam hall within that 3 hours is pretty crucial for you to be able to go through and most importantly be able to understand and pass the examination there. Let's see. Dave Yami said, this is my first time on this platform. I'm looking forward to writing my exams by next year. Okay. All right. Dave, uh, wishing you all the best as you make your decision practically and go into the exam. Edward said, no, your voice is okay and very clear. All right. Thank you. Any other? Okay. Bright Jikuno said FRMA and FM. Okay. Good. Prince Okwe said FR and audit, please, especially FR. All right. All right. So we're going to be getting into the discussion in a moment, and you're going to see. And I see some of you guys joining. Give us a thumbs up on the video. Really helps us a lot to reach many people, and there are a lot of you also who have not subscribed to the channel. You can subscribe and click the bell icon so that when I go live you will be the first person to be notified by YouTube. So let me bring up my screen quickly and let's get excited about our discussion for the day. You're ready? Let's go. Okay. So everything that we have done in the last 11 weeks and in the next 2 weeks will be decided by the examiner in the exam hall in 3 hours. So your exam is going to be 3 hours. And within that 3 hours, it is important to know exactly what you need to do in order for you to pass the examination. And there are a lot of factors that will go into whether you can pass the exams within that 3 hours given, or you're going to fail the exams in the 3 hours given. So I'm going to be providing you with some general recommendation. Then we're going to take subject specific and share our thoughts on them. Are you getting the idea? So general recommendations, then we're going to look at subject specific. So general recommendations. General recommendations. So to ensure that you optimize the 3 hours that you have in the exam hall to pass the examination, these are the general recommendation. Then, like I said, we'll take subject specific, and then we're going to be approaching and answering it in that regard. Number one is control your emotions. Now, this doesn't look like it is serious, but 99.9% of you we're going to be facing emotional breakdown in the exam hall. Anxiety, fear, perplexity, confusion, speed, not writing enough. You have to learn to control your emotions. Because you see, some of you, you will go to the exam hall, and I've had people telling me this over and over again. I've been doing this for a decade now. So you should know that I have a lot of information about this when students are sharing their thoughts with me. You go to the exam hall and you are there, they bring the question, then boom, you go to freeze mode. Or they bring the question, then boom, everything is gone. You have to learn to control your emotion. It is very important because your emotion affects your memory, your ability to remember. Your emotion affects your ability to remember or recollect. So it is very important that when you enter the exam hall and the day, probably 48 hours before the exams, it's important you balance your emotions. You need to be in a good state of mind. Like I said, you may not pay attention to this, but for those of you who have written the exam before, or written any exam before, you feel this. So the first thing, general recommendation is you must control your emotions. You must control your emotion. Fear, anxiety, perplexity, it's going to set in. Sometimes your heart is beating at a rate higher than it's supposed to beat. Even though you are sitting for an exam, your heart is beating as though you are running a marathon or taking 100-meter, race. Or maybe you're on a pitch playing a football, but you have to control your emotions. That is the first thing I want you to know. That is why I tell my students jokingly that, hey, the day of the exams, you want to flex. Okay, the day of the exams, you want to flex. When I say you want to flex, what does that mean? It means that the day of the exams, don't put yourself under pressure. Okay, sleep early. I know you're not gonna do that, but you need enough rest so you sleep very well. Okay, so tomorrow I have an exams, I'm gonna sleep very well. Okay, because you've studied, you've done your work. But the lazy people who would want to do last minute showdown, you are some of the people who suffer a lot of emotional breakdown. But the day before the exams, you need to ensure you have a good rest. It's important for your memory because the way you're able to remember things is when your brain is relaxed, when your emotion is relaxed. That is why some of you in the exam hall, you will freak out, you cannot remember anything. But when you are just lying down on your bed, There is no problem. You are just blissful within yourself. Then you realize that everything is coming up. Everything is coming up. And some of you will be like, when I was in the exam hall and I needed this, it did not come. Now that I don't need it, I'm not writing an exam, it's coming. Yes, that is how the brain works. If you put yourself under pressure, you cannot recollect anything. It's not that it is not in your memory, but everything is jump in your memory. So the day before the exams, sleep well. When you wake up, eat a great breakfast. Make sure you are highly spirited. You are blissful. Eat the best breakfast you can get. And have a chauffeur drive you to the exam center. So you're just at the back of the car and, you're just doing some final flipping through, that kind of thing. No rush, no panic, no jumping from one car to the other. I know someone was saying, Nhyira, this economy, we don't have money for that. Treat yourself well. It's an investment into your emotions. You need to be conscious about this. Because some of you think it is just about sitting down, opening books. That is what passed the exams. But your emotions, it's going to play a key role within that 3 hours in the exam hall. And some of you, the reason you will fail the exams, it's not because you don't know, but because your emotions got the best of you in the exam hall. So my first general recommendation to you is this: control your emotions. Control your emotions. Because if the wrong emotion is there, you cannot remember anything. And some of you have suffered this. I've had people tell me, Nhyira, I get to the exam, I read a question, and I can't remember anything. Then you will be alluding it to some things. Yeah, there could be some spiritual thing, but hey, come on. The devil doesn't know your address. Okay? The devil, he doesn't know your address. You have not reached that place that the devil will come and worry you. He doesn't know your address. So don't bother the devil. He doesn't know your address. You have to take charge of your emotions. And that is the first general recommendation that I want to give you, that control your emotions, because it has correlation with how you can remember this. It has a great correlation with how you can remember this. I see some charts coming up. Let's see. Amakuma said, "What? Chauffeur pa." I'll get you in class. Yes, you need to have a chauffeur take you there. Then Kwesi Ebua said, Nhyira, it's great breakfast, pa. Gary, we get to. Yeah, even if it is Gary you get, I mean, make it great, right? Get some Gary with some fried egg and vegetables and those kind of things. Gary, why do you think Gary is a bad meal? It's a good meal if you have a good protein source with it. You can feel good about it. Yeah, boy. You can feel good about it, in my opinion. So control your emotions. That is the first thing. That's the first thing. Number two, general recommendation, it's that you read thoroughly all questions. You read thoroughly all questions. Now, keyword thoroughly. Now, how do you do this? You will do this usually within the 15 minutes reading time window. And you don't even, if you're not able to finish reading all the questions and the 15 minutes is over and the examiner says start work, you might not want to start work. And I'm going to explain that to you in a moment. But you have to read thoroughly all the questions, because some of you, you read the first sentence of the question, recommend how the auditor, recommend how the minister, then you conclude and you start writing the answer. No, make sure you read the question thoroughly, all of the questions. Don't jump into conclusion. Read and make sure you understand the requirements of the question. That is why on Monday we did a session on the verbs that the examiner is going to be using. In case you missed that session, you can check the description of this video and you'll be able to watch that. You will be able to watch that. So you have to read thoroughly all the questions. Like I said, you may not be able to read all the questions within the 15 minutes reading time. Remember, I didn't say read the story. I said read the question, meaning the requirements of the question. That's what I'm talking to you about. I mean the requirements of the questions. The requirements. I didn't say read the case. Because if you're writing management accounting, there's a huge story available. If you're writing public sector, there may be some stories being told. If you're writing audit and assurance, there may be a story being told. If you're writing financial reporting, there's a story being told. I'm not talking about the story. I'm talking about the question itself. Where they say required, that part, read it thoroughly to understand what the heck is going on. 3, as you read the questions and understand what the heck the requirement is, you have to write down your key points or formula where applicable in your answer plan. Please listen carefully. Your question paper, you will not give it to the examiner. The examiner will not mark your question paper. So don't write things in your question paper or on your question paper. So your answer booklet, when the examiner says start work, you don't start work. Okay, when the invigilator says start work, you don't start work. So your answer booklet, usually the first page, your answer booklet, you open like this. So when you flip it over, usually the first page, it's likely you will not be writing here because this part will take the cover of so maybe you'll be starting to write here. So here should be your answer plan. For all subjects, mostly you can do this. For all subjects, mostly you can do this. Please bear with me and listen to what I'm saying. It's not a waste of time. So instead of the formulas, the key points that you would have written on your question paper, write it in the answer plan on the first page. So maybe you are doing FR and the examiner has asked a question about calculating profitability ratios, right? So you don't want to forget the formula. So what do you do? Okay, question whatever. Maybe question 4, profitability ratios. Okay, maybe asset turnover. You quickly put down the formula, PBIT over CE, capital employed. Okay, whatever, net profit margin. What is it? PBIT over sales. Like, have an answer plan or key points. Don't write on your question paper because your question paper, you take it home. Now, the purpose of the answer plan is that so that if you're not able to even finish, this is in the answer plan. At the end of the day, you're supposed to cancel it out. But even if you're not able to finish, the examiner could look at that and give you some marks for it. Because it is to help you. Because some of you write the solution in your question paper, then you forget to write it in the answer booklet because of time. So to prevent you from forgetting to bring the answer from your question paper to the answer booklet, have an answer plan and write it here. Don't write on your question paper, write it here. That is my third general recommendation. Write down key points and formulas. Maybe variances. Maybe budgeting, preparation of budget. And then there is a key thing you want to understand. Write it down. So control your emotions, read thoroughly all questions, write down key points or formulas in your answer plan. Usually, that should be your first page. Number 4, general recommendation is to attempt written or comment questions first. Attempt all written or comment questions first. Attempt all written or comment questions first. This is very important. All written and comment questions. And for whatever subject you are writing, there will be written. There will be comments. In management accounting, there are a lot of theories there. As a matter of fact, in management accounting, for instance, it depends on the objective of the examiner. You could have maybe 35, 65, meaning 35 theory or written aspects coming in, and then 65 computation and interpretation aspects coming in. So there's a lot of theories available there. Yes, you are doing FR. Yeah, there are FR theories in there. There are theories on ethics that the examiner may throw at you. There will be theories on issues maybe in relation to consolidation, depending on how excited the examiner is. There could be theory on conceptual framework that is always going to be there for you in the exam hall. So you answer these things, these questions first. First, for subjects like audit and assurance, it's purely written, so you don't have any option. You just have to answer questions in order in that regard. So you attempt all written or comment questions first. Okay, attempt all written or comment questions first. That is the idea about that. Then number 5, read and answer questions. Read and answer questions or interpret questions sentence by sentence. What do I mean by that? You don't necessarily have to read the whole question before you ask yourself, I'm overwhelmed. What do I do? And if you're a follower of my work, I have never read any question completely before starting. Never. If you're a follower of my work, you know this. Whatever subject I'm dealing with, I deal with the question sentence by sentence. Then I start structuring out my answers. Because you see, if you want to read the whole thing, you will be overwhelmed. Look at a question like this. This is an ethics question. It's an ICA pass question for whatever, August 2022. And that is financial reporting. I want to show you something. August 2022 financial reporting. Question 5. A, it's about ethics. This is what I mean by interpreting the question sentence by sentence. You go and read the requirement. It says, discuss the ethical issues. Let me pick up, what should we write with? Yellow. Will yellow be okay? Yeah, yellow will be okay. Or gold. Maybe let's say gold. So discuss, we've explained what discuss means. Discuss the potential ethical issues involved in breaching the fundamental principles of the IFA Code of Ethics. Discuss the potential ethical issues. The potential ethical issues involved in breaching the fundamental principles of IFAC. Now, this is the requirement. Then the II aspect of the question says, recommend the possible actions that you should take as a newly admitted member of the institute in dealing with this ethical dilemma. So that is the requirement of the question. Fine. Beautiful. Then I go to read the story. I don't have to finish reading the story before asking myself, what the heck is going on? As I read, I build my point because the examiner said I should discuss the ethical issues. So stay with me carefully. I just want to illustrate what I meant by that. You are a newly qualified accountant in practice. Keyword, newly qualified. Again, if you're a follower of my work and you are studying directly under my mentorship, when we are doing ethics, these are some of the things that I talk about. Now, the fact that the person is newly qualified by itself means that there is some threat likely to be there. So that's a key thing. I'm going to put it up. And you lead a team providing management consultancy services. In recent year, your practice has undertaken several assignments on manufacturing efficiency improvement for medium-sized listed group of companies in Ghana. It operates through a number of divisions, but line responsibility appears complicated, and so significant control rests with 4 semi-autonomous regional The authority of these Okay, so let's go to the subject matter. You have cultivated a good working relationship with one of the regional directors. Keyword: cultivated a good working relationship. A good working relationship. Some familiarity issues popping up. With whom you are in contact most frequently. 3 weeks ago, that regional director asks you to investigate as a matter of urgency a particular project, Project A. The project is sophisticated design and build contract, and regional has been told informally that the agreed delivery date is likely to be mixed. The regional director is upset about this turn of events. Project A comes with the regional director's responsibility, primarily because of the location of the factory that makes the key component. Now, so what am I saying? As you read a question, you are interpreting. Now, that good working relationship and the fact that you are in contact with a person most frequently means that there is a familiarity threat here, which means you are likely to have your objectivity impaired as an accountant. As an accountant, this newly accountant is likely to have his objectivity being impaired on this particular project. So, what I'm trying to tell you is that for whatever question you pick, you do the interpretation line by line. If you say you wait to read the whole story and ask yourself, hey, what is happening? You don't have time to read the question 2 times, 3 times, the scenario 2 times, 3 times in the exam hall. It won't do you any good. So as you read, you interpret. As you read, you interpret. As you read, you interpret. And most importantly, financial reporting or budget preparation, the same thing happens. Financial reporting or budget preparation, the same thing happens. So let's say we go to the final account question here, question 3. You don't read the whole requirement, the whole notes and start working. No, you read note 1, you work for it. So it has been the policy to repair goods. Once you read, you work. You read, you work. You read, you work. That is how you're going to work yourself out to pass the examination, because you don't have time to read all the scenario 2 or 3 times. Then number 6, always start with the questions you can answer best first. You can answer best first and in that order. That's it. Keyword: you can answer best first and in that order. Again, this is my recommendation. If you are writing financial reporting and corporate reporting, it will not be good for you to start with consolidated financial statements. In other words, it will not be good for you to start with question 1. Don't be deceived. I've told you this over and over again. In the chief examiner's report for financial reporting and corporate reporting over the years, the chief examiner has categorically stated that the consolidated financial statement question on the average is one of the best answered questions in the exams. One of the best answered questions. But yes, it is one of the best answered questions. But what is the pass mark? The average pass mark has been 30%. And I've told you this already, that in December 2022 examination, give and take on the average, about 70% of you will fail the exams. That's statistics. And when we graph the history and we extrapolate the results, this is what is going to be happening. So about 70% of people will fail the exams. Why would they fail the exams? Failure to follow these general recommendations that I'm giving here. So stay with me carefully. Do not answer the consolidated financial statement question first. Why am I saying this? Because you may be able to answer it, but the time, some people may end up using over 1 hour and they are still not done with a consolidated financial statement question. Over 1 hour. Now remember, the console question is 20 marks, give and take, and that means you have to use 36 minutes. So if you end up using more than 1 hour for that question, then you are heading towards failure. That is why my recommendation is do not answer consolidated financial statement question 1 first. I don't care how sharp you think you are about console. I don't think how smart you think you can be. But you don't answer that first. In the exam hall, you are not showing powers. You want to pass the exams. And answering the consolidated financial statement question may put you in a spot where you spend more time than you are supposed to spend. Because if you start with console like that and you've spent over 1 hour and you are still not done because you don't know how to treat a certain footnote, you start panicking. And immediately you start panicking, recommendation number 1 will set in emotions. You start freaking out. You start becoming anxious. You start because you cannot stand it because you're likely to fail. So my recommendation is FRCR, do not answer consolidated financial statement question first. There are theories that will be in question 5. Go take them easily. Go take them easily. There are standards that are going to be there that you can answer. Do them easily. It's important. Because if you put 10 people down, probably one of the 10 people can only do the consolidated financial statement question within 40 minutes. Within 40 minutes. Within 40 minutes. Only one person out of 10 people can do that. Because many people, your level of understanding, your ability to remember, your ability to recollect, your speed level, your punching level, all of these things will feed into the fact that you're going to be using more time than required. So it's very important. It's very important. Sometimes management accounting students, you cannot answer budgeting questions first, or maybe variance analysis questions first. Because budgeting question has a lot of issues. Because budgeting questions, your English, your grammar, the statements, the interpretations, the calculations, and all that could be more serious. Variance analysis, the same thing, the calculation, the interpretation, the English could also be serious. So you want to answer the right questions first. Like I said, you're not there to flex. And I don't care whatever the heck that you have been told or you have heard, you are in the exam hall to pass. So if you are there to pass, then approach the questions, what you can do best first as fast as possible and save some time. These are the general recommendations. So in the exam hall, within that 3 hours plus the reading time 15 minutes that you'll be given, making 3 hours 15 minutes, hell is going to break loose on you. And if hell is breaking loose on you, if you follow these recommendations, all other things being equal, you should be able to be successful. Because this will help you to allocate time properly. This will help you to control your emotions. This will help you to answer the questions in your best interest. And most importantly, you will be able to ultimately pass the examination. So that is my general recommendation on what you have to do in that regard. Let me see. I see some of you guys joining. You are welcome. Thanks for joining us. Give us a thumbs up on the video and also share the video. Let's reach as many students as possible to watch the playback of the video as well. If there are any questions, put it in the chat for me, put it in the comment section for me, and I'll be able to provide you with some answers in that regard. Nana Kofi said, good work, Nhyira. Thank you, Nana Kofi. Prince Aqua said, you can't thoroughly read through all 5 questions, Nhyira. What do you mean by that, Prince? If you cannot thoroughly read through all the questions, then you will fail. I don't know what you mean by you cannot thoroughly, because the requirement of the question is the requirement of the question. So if you say you cannot thoroughly read the question, is it that you are setting your own question in the exam hall and writing your own answer down? You have to thoroughly read the question. Because if you say you cannot thoroughly read, what do you mean by that? Because if you don't read the requirements of the question, how do you then answer? Or you set your own question and answer. I don't know what the heck you mean by that, though. Ntabalin said, "Thank you for this, Nhyira. Always a pleasure." Kwesi Yeboah said, "So, what if you can answer practical question first before theory? It's your call. Okay, it's your call. It's your call. If that is the skill you can go for, you've trained yourself for that, why not? You go for it. This is just a recommendation. It is not like a law. It's a recommendation. So if it is the console you can answer first and you can work in less than 36 minutes, why not? Go for it. Are you getting it? So it's your call. It's your call. So I wouldn't have anything against that. It's your call. That one cry, it won't balance. Okay. You mean after using over 1 hour for the consolidated financial statement, right? It won't balance. Then you start panicking. Then you know that you have started failing already in that regard. Dazi is giving us a thumbs up in the chat. Thank you, Dazi, for that. And then we are having an emoji coming in from Ebenezer Mensa. Yeah, you explain later. I got it. You meant the required ones, not the case of stories. Yeah, definitely in the initial stages. American said, good, please leave the video recorded in your WhatsApp. The video will be available on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you are watching us from, for playback later on. Okay, so you can get access to it after the stream here. Any other questions? Put it in the chat or the comment section for me. And let's go specific now. Whatever subject you are writing, please put it in the comment section or the chat for me. And let's be specific now. I got some questions from Bright, FRMAFM. So let's do FR first. I think I've told you about that. Financial reporting. Now, if you're a follower of my work, we've spoken about financial reporting already, the structure of the exams. But for the purpose of the way you have to answer as per the recommendation, like I said, this is what I would say in that regard. So financial reporting. Yes, question 1 is going to be on consolidated financial statement. All right. We may have question 2 on the standards in that regard. We may have question 3 on single entity. In that case, we will have question 4 coming in also on ratios. And then question 5 could be no man's land. The reason I call that no man's land is that everything else is going to be thrown here. So we may have ethics coming in here. We may have conceptual framework coming in here. And then we may have some standards even coming in here. So generally, this is going to be the structure of the financial reporting examination. Generally, this is going to be the financial reporting exams. So what is my recommendation for the way you should answer the questions? Like I said earlier in my presentation, it will be easy for you to go to question 5 first, because largely question 5 will always be a written or a comment area, which you don't require a lot of miracles to perform that. So ethics, if the examiner is excited, that is 6 marks coming in there for you in that regard. Conceptual framework, something about that is going to be there, depending on how excited the examiner is, maybe 5 to 6 marks coming in there. Then we've seen the examiner also drop in some standards, but it's about rating standards, not calculation standards. Rating standards also there, about 5 marks, give and take there. So that question 5 It's likely to be a 15 or a 20 marks, and it's going to be covering these three areas plus other fundamental areas in FR, like processes of setting standards. Okay, like processes of setting standards. So the question 5 would deeply be theory areas. Now, again, if you're a follower of my work, we've done ethics, and I've explained to you how ethics is supposed to be done, and how you answer the ethics questions. All right, how you answer the ethics questions in that particular case. So, I would want you take the question 5 first, because it's going to be largely written and theory areas. You can do that as fast as possible and clock that 20 marks in less than 36 minutes, in my opinion. In my opinion. Then right after that, you can go next to the ratios in that regard, because the ratios, it's likely you're going to do calculation, computation, and also interpretation, all of that things being equal. And if you understand ratios very well, you are largely likely to be able to, be able to answer the ratio questions. But then question 2 and 3 are all going to be on IFRSs, because the single entity, either the examiner will bring profit or loss and statement of financial position, or the cash flow statement. One of them, either the cash flow statement or the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, but all are premised on IFRSs. So we're going to have 40 mark question. Question 2 and question 3 will be on accounting standards. Question 2 and question 3 will be on accounting standards. So if you're a follower of my work, we've also mentioned that the accounting standards are largely, the core, the anchor for the financial reporting exams. So you have to be strong in the accounting standards, because 40% will be question 2 and question 3. And if you remember, I said in question 5, the examiner can bring a theory question even on the standards. So you have a chance of having more than 40% of questions which are going to be based on the standards. Now, the reason why I said the single entity is also about standard is that each footnote is actually going to be largely an accounting standard. So if I should show you this is the August 2022, because I always like to, reference what the heck is going on so people understand what I'm trying to say. If you go through the ICA, exams, you'll be able to see these things there. So if you look at the note 1, it is the policy of the company to repair goods sold to customers. The company's past and future is indicated that 25. This is IAS 37 provisions. Now, somebody will say, Nhyira, how do I know that this is IAS 37? If you understand the standards well, and you have a thorough understanding of the accounting standards, when you read it, you will know that this is the principle that has to apply. And that is why I always tell you, you must spend time with the standard as a corporate reporting and financial reporting student. So question number 1 is on IAS 37. So if you don't know IAS 37 or you don't remember it, then you'll be chewing your pen with that note. Note 2. Montori over the years rent some of its spare vehicles used in the distribution of its products to competitors. Rent some of its vehicle. It is also noted that the routine sales of the vehicle for normal rentals, let's see, included in the above trial balance is the cost of 2 elements. I think this is about leases. No, investment property, because they lease the properties to them. So that is IAS 40. Okay, that is IAS 40. In that case, where's the thing? Here we are. That's IAS 40. Then you continue. Consideration for disposal is paid by the buyer. The effect of the decision to sell is incorporated. Non-current assets are depreciated. This is IAS 16. That is going to be there always. How to deal with depreciation is going to be there always. Okay. We go to the next one. The suspect's account represents interest and principal payment due from the bank loan contracted. Bank loan, that is IFRS 9, financial instruments, and you're dealing with financial liability in that regard. Included in the above in the inventory are finished goods costing this, which are slow moving inventory. That is IAS 2. How do we value closing inventory? The current year tax, that is IAS 12. So each of the footnotes about a single entity financial statement is an accounting standard. Are you getting what I'm trying to say here? It's an accounting standard. Each of the footnotes is an accounting standard. So you have to build a solid base, a solid knowledge on the accounting standards. Very important. And but like I said, if you're a follower of my work, we've shared our thoughts on the accounting standards, and we have an examination analysis also available. That is for our paid students. Then they are going to be getting access to that to know how the standards are, the standards that they have to focus on going into the December examination. So, question number 5. Written aspect, take it out. Ratios, you take it out. Then the standards, if you're solid on them, then you can answer that between the question 2 and the question 3. You answer that. Then consolidation should be your last but one question. And in console, you want to take some easy marks in console. That's what you're interested in. Not to necessarily answer all the questions. Necessarily, you cannot answer all the questions in the exam hall. Let me be frank with you on that. That is why you have to take the easy marks as fast as possible. So something like consolidation like this, there are easy marks that you can take, depending on whether you're preparing the consolidated profit or loss or consolidated statement of financial position. There are easy marks that you have to take. So don't rush to go and extract financial statement. Just be excited about the workings. And there are easy marks you could get on your workings. Definitely, no matter how the question is structured, you're going to get your group structure coming in. And it's important you be able to calculate the group structure in the post-acquisition period. Goodwill calculation, there is always a mark that the examiner allocates for that. Intra-group trading, it is always going to be there. You want to just do the workings and take the easy marks in that regard. So don't rush to go and extract the consolidated financial statement. There is no need for that. Just read the question step by step and take your easy marks. Read a question step by step and take your easy marks in their workings, in the workings, in the workings. Don't go and rush to extract the financial statements. There is no need for that. Just take the easy marks in your workings in that regard. So when it comes to financial reporting, this is how the structure of the exams is and how, you need to look at it generally in that regard. All right. So that's financial reporting. Then you go to management accounting. Management accounting, question 1 is going to be on performance measurement per the examiner's, experience over the years. Performance measurement. Now, performance measurement is in broader scope. It could be organizational performance measurement. It could be the concept of divisionalization. It could be the concept of transfer pricing. It's a lot of things there. It depends on whatever the heck the examiner wants to bring. Question 2, 3, normally the examiner changes it. So from here, we cannot fix, but there could be some theories here. And the theories here could be the models of evaluation and some other theories in management accounting. Sometimes the position of the questions are different. Question 3, give and take, we'll be having the budgeting coming in. Question 4, variance analysis, if you want to. Then question 5, the examiner can throw any other thing there. Investment appraisal. Question 2, A, B, short-term decisions. Now, I'm not necessarily arranging it in the order that you see it in the exam hall, because with management accounting, apart from the question 1, which is fixed on performance measurement, the position of the questions change. Unlike financial reporting that it's fixed, in management accounting it's not fixed. So the position of the questions usually can change in the period. But these are largely what we're going to see. So in management accounting exams also, like I illustrated to you earlier, depending on how excited the examiner is, we could have 35%, 65, or 30, 70%, meaning written or comments, and then computation or calculation aspect. So you want to go in there and read and answer the theory questions as fast as possible. There are theories on the budgeting, there are theories on the variance, there are theories on the investment appraisal, there are theories on the short-term decision. Depending on whatever the examiner brings, go for it. And because of the complex nature of management accounting, in the context that if your grammar is not good, because you see the way grammatically management accounting is structured, you need to understand the grammatical context of the question in relation to management accounting before you can answer the question. So my recommendation will be, yes, you pick all the theories. Now, when I say answer all theories, this is what I mean generally. Because somebody will say, Nhyira, what if question 1A, there's a theory there, another theory is in question 4B, another theory is in question 5C. How do I answer it? Keyword: all questions must be answered, or new questions must be answered on fresh pages. A no question must be answered on a fresh page. That's what it means. So if your first theory is question 1A, go to a fresh page right there, question 1A, answer it. Don't come and answer question 4B here. No, you don't do that. Go to the next page. The paper is yours. The examiner is under obligation to answer the questions you have answered, not in any order. Listen carefully. There is no order in which you are supposed to answer any question. You answer the question based on the way you choose to answer it. And the markers are under obligation to mark each answer that you have written in respect of whatever question they have in the answer booklet. So as far as your answer is in the answer booklet, it doesn't matter the order. So if my theories, like I stated, are question 1A, question 4B, question 5C, then I'm going to answer question 1A here. I go to the next page, question 4C, I answer it. I go to the next page, question 5B, I answer it. The key word is that you must know that different question numbers are not put on the same page. That is the key thing. Different question numbers cannot be put on the same page. So the examiner will just look out, okay, question 5. Normally what happens generally is that there may be different people marking different questions. So what they will be interested in is the question number you've written at the top. So once you've written question 5B, the one responsible to mark question 5B will mark it, irrespective of where it is located, as far as it is in the answer booklet. So when we say answer as much as possible, all theories as possible, we don't mean put everything on the same page. Each question must be answered on a fresh page. Each question must be answered on a fresh page. Like I said, you're not in the exam hall to please anybody's ego. You are there to get your marks. So with management accounting, suddenly you take out all the theories, then depending on your strength, because like I said, management accounting is a bit contextual, depending on the way the exams is structured and the way you understand certain topics. So maybe there's a short-term decision, and there are a lot of short-term decisions there: make or buy, shutdown decision, pricing decision, break-even analysis, relevant cost analysis. Depending on whatever you are strong in and whatever the examiner asks, if you can do it, you go for it. But you want to read the requirements of the questions and find out which one can I do first, apart from taking all the written aspects. Because written aspect is going to be maybe 30%, it's good for you to quickly see if you can answer those written aspects as fast as possible. So you save the time and come and worry on budgeting and come and worry on investment variance analysis and also on investment appraisal. So with management accounting, that is also how the structure is going to be, and how you can approach it in the exam hall. Then let's see. Do I have any other questions coming on for me? Ekuya Kwan said, areas in PM ACCA. Okay. Performance measurements in ACCA. Let me bring back my screen. Performance measurement in ACCA is just like management accounting in ICA level 2. So really, everything in the syllabus, the examiner is going to be spreading his wings. Okay, Ikuya, Nyakwa, the examiner is going to be spreading his wings. What does that mean? It means that you're going to be seeing things in budgeting. You're going to be seeing things in variance. Now, there is something in management accounting in here that I didn't mention, and it always skip me, ethics. There is ethics in management accounting. ICA, ethics, management accounting. But the examiner doesn't is not really too much excited about it. So usually I forgot about it. But there's an ethics also here. The way the ethics questions are asked in management accounting, it's pretty different from the way it is asked in financial reporting or corporate reporting or in other subjects that feature ethics in that regard. So certainly you're going to see budgeting, you're going to see variances, you're going to see short-term decisions, very important. Short-term decisions, very important. But let me say this to all management accounting students. Let me say this. I think I shared this with in our examination analysis documents with our students here. Let me just bring a portion of that up and show you, tell you about it quickly. I'm not going to share the entire document, but just a portion. Yeah. Oh, okay, let me make my screen a bit bigger here so we can scroll down. Right. So let's see if I can take a screenshot of that. So the reason I'm bringing this up, it's also in line with Nyakwan's question, because this is also important in performance measurement in ACCA. Okay. So for all management accounting students, the following three issues are important. You must understand the absorption costing principles, very important. The marginal costing principle, don't forget it. The activity-based costing principle, don't forget it. Why? Because you will need absorption costing in budgeting, in variance analysis, and then in cost profit statements. You need a marginal costing in short-term decisions, budgeting, variance analysis, and cost and profit statements, and even transfer pricing. You will need activity-based costing principle in preparing the cost statement and also in transfer pricing. So you realize that like the way in financial reporting and corporate reporting, the accounting standards are the basic. In management accounting, these three principles are the basics as well. They hold management accounting. So before you get into the exam hall, before you go into the exam hall, please be mindful of these three principles. Understand over and under absorption of overheads, understand how the marginal costing principle works, and understand how the activity-based costing work. Because in activity-based costing, you must identify the cost pool with its respective cost drivers so that you can be able to calculate the overhead recovery rate. Then you can allocate the overhead recovery rate using the actual events that has occurred. Then you can now estimate the total overheads that is in respect of what you're doing. So activity-based costing is going to be crucial. So you want to make sure you understand that very well. All right. Then another question coming up. What do I have here? Let's see. Nana Kofi said, Nhyira, can you write question 1AI and question 1AII on the same page? Yes. Like I said, it's only that different questions cannot be answered. But if it is question 4C that you did first, after that, maybe you answered, you leave 4 lines or 3 lines. 4 is okay. Then you can go to question 4B and on the same page. That's allowable. On the same page, that is allowable. Okay? On the same page, that is allowable. As far as it is the same question, you can answer it on the same page. As far as it is the same question, you can answer it on the same page. If not, it should be on separate pages. It should be on separate pages. What else do I have here? Let's see. Kwesi Yeboah said, please for when you say answering patterns, what do you mean? I think I've addressed that already. I've spoken about MA, PSA, Kelvin, Cuckoo. Okay, we'll talk about PSA in a moment. Let me bring my screen up and see. In public sector, what are we gonna be looking at? You know that already. We've spoken about this. Again, our examination analysis document, we've shared this already available with our students as well. You're gonna have question one coming in largely on a couple of issues coming in there. Conceptual framework for general purpose financial statement. For general purpose financial statement. Question two, it depends, give and take. It may be the financial statement preparation, and that could be for maybe the consolidated fund, or it could be for a covered entity. And that is either it is going to be on a ministry, a department, or an agency, a metropolitan, municipal, or a district assembly, or it could be on other covered entities like a hospital, a school, or maybe another, state enterprise, another covered entity, which is more of like a state enterprise in that particular case. So that is basically it. Now, PSAF, you want to not answer final financial statement questions first. Stay away from it in the beginning because there is a lot of theories that you can answer in that regard. Give and take question three may be, I may not arrange it in the respective order, but question three may be on performance evaluation and probably PIFA and PIFA. Let me be specific. Performance evaluation and PIFA. That may be both computation or calculation and also written aspects, depending on how excited the examiner is. Question four is going to largely be on public private partnership as well as public procurement in that regard. And so you must know that pretty well. Then question five will be a no man's land area. So anything else the examiner is not happy about, that's just a figurative statement. No man's land. So anything else can be thrown here. The role of public officers and all that. And we've shared some key things relating to public sector. So with public sector, because it is largely written, so give and take is going to be 75% written and then 25% calculation, or maybe 30% calculation, 70% written, depending on how excited the examiner is. You want to answer the written aspect first. In that regard, take all the written aspect as fast as possible. PPE is going to be there, procurement is going to be there, PIFA will be there, the conceptual framework for general purpose financial statement is going to be there. It is important that you know about that. Like I said, you stay away from the final accounts preparation because it's going to require a lot of work. There's a lot of workings you would do. If you check all the final accounts questions, it's a lot of work. Okay, you would have to look at their revenues, look at the various expenditure items as based on the classification of the chart of accounts of the Republic of Ghana in accordance with the Public Financial Management Act, applying the IPSAS. So there's going to be a lot going on the financial statement preparation for public sector organizations. So you don't want to go that first. You don't want to go there first in the exam, or you want to take question one. It's going to be written aspects, conceptual framework, and other issues. You could handle that. PPP and procurement, you could handle that. PIFA, you could handle that. Question five, which is no man's land area, you could handle that as fast as much as you can in that case, so that by the time you started working on the calculation aspect, at least you have position yourself, give and take 40, 45, or 50 in the exam hall, so that you can now save some time. The purpose for doing the written aspect first is for you to save some time, so that you can now come and spend that time on the computation aspect. Because some of you may have experienced this. You are on your way after the exams, and you are not really excited about it, but you're on your way going home in the vehicle, and then or you get home, then for a reason something will just prick your thoughts that take the question. Then you pick the question, and then you're just flipping through. Then to your surprise, there was a theory question, 5 marks or 10 marks, that you know the answer. You had studied it, you knew the answer, like you could have answered that in the shortest possible time, but you were focusing on the wrong thing. Do you see the idea? Some of you might have experienced this before in the past. It is because of this premise. That is why I mentioned that it is important that you read all the questions thoroughly, because once you read all the questions thoroughly, then you may not have that surprise, and you can answer the questions in that order to increase your chances of ultimately passing the examination. So that is the issue about public sector as well in that particular case. What else do I have? Somebody said, "Good day, Nhyira. I'm from Nigeria, and we finalized our exams yesterday, and your channel really helped because we were told to write a report on ratio analysis, and it was a compulsory question." That's great. Wishing you all the best in your results as you wait on it. And we were asked a question on blockchain in financial reporting too. I didn't quite get that, but it was accompanied with the ratios to also compulsory. All right, that means that probably you didn't pay attention to the scope of your syllabus very well. If there is blockchain reporting, because that is a new development area, it's one of the current issue. So if it is available in your syllabus in that regard, then suddenly you are supposed to have known about it. And section C, the theory aspect was conceptual framework and ethics. Yes, definitely, because every FR exams, conceptual framework and ethics, it's something that you are expected to know something about. And I'm wishing you all the best, some D, as you wait for your results. So that, and really excited that our YouTube channel was able to also assist you. You're able to study through our YouTube channel as well in some of the things, so you prepare well for the exams. Oh, my time is almost up. Okay, let's see. Latifa Idris, who said, "Please, questions make up for principles of taxation." Generally, principles of taxation also, we're going to have questions coming in from all aspects of the syllabus. And we know the syllabus already. So there's going to be a question on tax administration, definitely. That's waiting for you in the exam hall. You cannot run away from that. Okay. Tax administration, there's a question waiting for you on that. Income tax liabilities of individuals and partnership. Income tax liabilities of individuals and partnership. That's going to be there for you in the exam hall. You must understand the various principles, the various reliefs that are available for individuals. If the person is married, the person is having a child, the person is disabled, donation to worthy causes, like all these things are allowable relief, personal relief that a person can get. Then corporate tax liabilities. There's a question waiting for you there. As you're dealing with that, capital allowance is crucial. So you must understand the pooling system for capital allowance, because that is really fundamental as well when it comes to dealing with the issues. So the pooling system, know that class 1 to class 3 assets have the same uh, characteristics. Class 4 and 5 assets have the same characteristics. So you must understand the various treatments about these things, disposals of assets. How do we deal with it when there is a new asset that is acquired? If it is class 1 and class 2, class 3, how do you treat it? If it is class 4 and 5, how do you treat it? It's very crucial, capital allowance, for you to understand that. Then chargeable gains is going to be a question waiting for you there, minimum of 10 marks, depending on how excited the examiner is. This is in twofold: gift tax and then capital gain tax. Okay, there's something, one of them will be there in the exam hall. If the examiner is not excited about it, then he will bring just one of them in the exam hall. So chargeable gains, it's going to be an issue there. Then pensions, you know, pensions is going to be there. It's part of the things. All other things being equal, give and take, you're going to have about minimum of 5 marks, marks or 10 marks if the examiner is excited about it. Then certainly, fiscal policy, okay, the various debts and their implication on the economy generally. So if you ask of makeup for principles of taxation, I mean, that is what I can say in that respect. Tax administration, something is going to be there. Income tax liabilities of individuals and partnership, something is going to be there. Corporate tax liability is very crucial. You must understand the principles of treating dividends, treating interest income, treating rent income, treating disposal of assets. You must understand allowable and non-allowable deductions, repairs and improvements. How do we deal with that? Thin capitalization. If an entity borrows money from a foreign investor or a foreign entity, what are the rules on allowable interest expenses and also non-allowable interest expenses, finance cost and financial cost and financial gain. If the entity enters into any uh, derivative contracts or derivative financial instruments, what are the tax implications of that? You must understand that pretty well. Okay, you must understand that pretty well. I mean, these are deep issues that you must understand there in that regard. And you know that's generally it as well in principles of taxation. Give and take the principles of tax, you're going to have theories in there in the exam hall. So tax administration is going to be a written aspect largely, even though there is a calculation aspect when it comes to calculating the penalty if somebody is using the self assessment as opposed to the provisional assessment. So tax administration largely is going to be based on written. So there's going to be some theory or written or comment questions when it comes to principles of taxation. So you want to make sure that you understand or you take them out pretty first. Then depending on how strong you are and the level of understanding you have, then you could now allocate which ones you can take first, whether the income tax liabilities of individuals or the corporate tax question, or maybe a question on capital allowance in the exam hall. That's at your own will how you would want to look at it. But there are principles. You see, everything that I've spoken about, if you take each topic at all, sorry, each subject at all, there are fundamental principles that you have to pay attention to. So if you come to financial reporting and corporate reporting, there are fundamental principles underlining each of the topics. Each of the standards have their principle. Consolidation, there are principles there. You must understand these in detail. It is not much about how many questions you're able to solve. It's about the principles, understanding the principles, and how you apply them. Because you can solve 7 million questions and go to the exam and still fail. Because it is not about the question you solved, it's about the principle. So for each of the topics, there are principles there. Spend time to understand the principles. That's my take. Once you understand the principles, then even if you solve 2 3 questions, it's application and you will not be afraid. And like I keep on saying, if you are referring to the ICA past questions, please refer to it as just a way to see how the exams is, because there will not be repetition of questions. The tonation of the questions will be different. So you are better off looking at questions outside the ICA past questions. Because there are some people, they are just on the ICA past question, they have solved from 1963 to 2020. No, you got to look outside the ICA past questions under the no syllabus from 2019 November to August 2022. Look outside that scope, because you see, the questions, the topics have been repeating. Console is there, ethics is there, ratio is there, but the context of the question, the structure of the question will be different every time. So if you go and look at the past questions, that context will not be in the exam hall again. It won't be there. There will be another context, another statement that the examiner will make. And the only way you identify that is to look at questions outside the ICA past questions. So don't just bury yourself with the ICA past questions. Understand the principles and solve enough questions outside the ICA past questions. Yeah, certainly the past questions inclusive, but more questions outside the ICA past questions will put you in a better spot in that regard. So that is it about that. For timing constraints, I have to end my class here. We have our financial reporting class. Starting in less than 10 minutes. And before my students come to chew me for break for supper, I'm going to be wrapping up here today. And I believe that our discussion was fruitful to you. And like I mentioned earlier, these 5 things are your takeaway. Okay, make sure you control your emotions. Make sure you read the questions thoroughly. Make sure you write down the key points and formulas in your answer plan in the answer booklet. Don't write it on your question paper, because your question paper, you will take it home and the examiner or the markers, they won't come to your house to come and mark your question paper. So write them in the answer booklet under your answer plan. Attempt all comments and written questions first. Read and answer the questions or interpret the questions sentence by sentence. And most importantly, start with what you can do best first in your judgments. And once you do this, you should be good in that regard. So I'm going to conclude around here today. And thank you very much for joining us on the stream as we continue with our discussion. And subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed. And make sure you follow us on Instagram. And we're posting details there on the various things that we'll be planning out in the next 2 weeks as we assist you to be able to prepare well for the exams and pass the examination. So have a great weekend. And thanks for joining us.